The Monday morning meeting at Harrison Dynamics was supposed to be routine, but the atmosphere inside the conference room felt unusually tense. Department managers sat quietly, avoiding eye contact, while employees exchanged nervous glances. Everyone knew the company had missed another major deadline, and rumors about layoffs had spread through every floor of the building. At the far end of the room stood Daniel Carter, a senior maintenance engineer known for solving problems that others could not. He had worked at Harrison Dynamics for 12 years, rarely took a day off, and never asked for special treatment. Outside the office, however, Daniel's life looked very different. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years earlier, he had been raising his 9-year-old daughter, Lily, alone. Every morning began before sunrise. Daniel prepared breakfast, packed Lily's school lunch, helped her finish homework, and dropped her off before rushing to work. His evenings were filled with grocery shopping, cooking dinner, washing clothes, and reading bedtime stories. Sleep had become a luxury, but he never complained because his daughter depended on him. That particular morning, Daniel arrived 15 minutes late. It was the first time in years. Lily had woken up with a high fever, and Daniel had waited until his elderly neighbor could stay with her before leaving for work. He had informed his supervisor by phone on the way, believing that honesty would be enough. As soon as he entered the conference room, every conversation stopped. The CEO, Richard Harrison, noticed him immediately. "So Mr. Carter finally decided to join us," Richard said in a sharp voice. Daniel remained calm. "I'm sorry for being late. My daughter became sick this morning, and The CEO interrupted him before he could finish. "I don't pay employees to bring personal excuses into this company. Around here, commitment comes first." The room fell silent. Daniel looked around and noticed that several co-workers lowered their heads. They knew how hard he worked and understood the challenges he faced, but no one dared to speak. Richard folded his arms and delivered a sentence that echoed through the room. "If you can't follow my expectations exactly as I say, then quit." No one expected what Daniel would do next. Instead of arguing or pleading, he quietly nodded, walked back to his desk, opened a small travel bag, and began packing his personal belongings without saying a single word. Daniel placed his family photo inside the worn leather bag before adding a coffee mug, a notebook filled with maintenance sketches, and the small toolkit he had purchased with his own money years earlier. Every movement was calm and deliberate. He did not slam drawers or make dramatic gestures. He simply packed what belonged to him. The silence in the office became uncomfortable. Several co-workers stopped pretending to work and watched from their desks. A few wanted to speak, but they feared risking their own jobs. Daniel had spent years helping many of them solve difficult technical problems, often staying late without expecting recognition. Seeing him leave over a single conversation felt deeply unfair. His supervisor, Mark Evans, approached quietly. "Daniel," he said in a low voice, "don't make a decision you'll regret. Give the CEO some time to cool down." Daniel zipped his bag and looked at him with a tired smile. "I've given this company 12 years. I've worked nights during emergencies, missed birthdays to repair equipment, and answered calls on holidays. I don't regret any of that. But I won't regret choosing my daughter either." Mark had no answer. As Daniel walked toward the exit, the receptionist called after him. "Wait, at least finish the paperwork." Daniel stopped. "I'll return the company laptop and ID before I leave. Everything else can be handled by email." His voice carried no anger, only quiet certainty. Just then, the CEO stepped out of the conference room. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," Richard said, folding his arms. Daniel met his eyes respectfully. "You gave me 2 choices. Obey without question or quit. I simply chose the one that lets me keep my self-respect." The CEO gave a dismissive shrug. "There are plenty of engineers looking for work." "Maybe," Daniel replied. "But good employees don't leave because they dislike hard work. They leave when they're made to feel that their lives outside the office have no value." Without waiting for a response, Daniel handed over his access card, thanked the security guard who had greeted him every morning for years, and walked through the front doors. Behind him, the office remained unusually quiet, as if everyone had just witnessed something far more significant than a resignation. Daniel drove home expecting to feel anxious about losing his job, but the moment he opened the front door, Lily ran toward him and wrapped her arms around his waist. "Dad, you're home early," she said with a weak smile. He touched her forehead. The fever had started to come down. "I am," he replied gently. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Mrs. Wilson made me soup." Daniel thanked his elderly neighbor before sitting beside Lily on the couch. For the first time in years, he wasn't checking work emails or answering emergency phone calls. His attention was completely on his daughter. That evening, after Lily had fallen asleep, Daniel updated his resume. He listed the projects he had completed over 12 years, the equipment he had modernized, and the cost-saving improvements he had introduced. Reading through his own experience reminded him that his value wasn't defined by one company or one CEO. The next morning, he submitted applications to several engineering firms. Within days, his phone began ringing. One recruiter was especially interested after noticing Daniel had stayed with the same employer for more than a decade. "Your technical experience is impressive," she said, "but what stands out even more is your consistency. We'd like to invite you for an interview." The interview felt different from any Daniel had attended before. Instead of asking only about machines and maintenance schedules, the hiring manager asked how he handled pressure, teamwork, and unexpected challenges. Daniel answered honestly, "I believe people do their best work when they're respected. Skills can be taught, but trust has to be earned." The manager smiled and wrote something in his notebook. Meanwhile, back at Harrison Dynamics, replacing Daniel proved far more difficult than the CEO had expected. Small equipment failures began causing repeated production delays. The engineers who remained tried their best, but Daniel had been the person everyone relied on for the toughest problems. Employees quietly started discussing his resignation during lunch breaks. Many admitted they hadn't been shocked that he left. What surprised them was the calm confidence with which he walked away. For the first time, even some senior managers began questioning whether the company had lost more than just an experienced engineer. Perhaps they had lost the kind of employee who couldn't easily be replaced. A week later, Daniel received an offer from a growing engineering company called Northbridge Systems. The salary was slightly higher than his previous job, but what caught his attention wasn't the money. During the final interview, the operations director had asked a simple question. "What matters most to you outside of work?" Daniel had answered without hesitation. "My daughter. She's the reason I work so hard." Instead of treating his answer as a weakness, the director nodded with understanding. "Family responsibilities don't make someone less committed," she said. "They usually make people more responsible. We expect excellence here, but we also expect our managers to treat people with respect." Those words stayed with Daniel long after the meeting ended. He accepted the offer and started the following Monday. From the beginning, he noticed the difference. Employees greeted one another by name, supervisors listened before making decisions, and problems were discussed instead of ignored. The work was still demanding, but the culture encouraged cooperation rather than fear. Within a few months, Daniel led a project that reduced machine downtime and saved the company thousands of dollars. His team respected him because he never asked others to do something he wouldn't do himself. He shared credit for successes and accepted responsibility when mistakes happened. The confidence he had almost lost slowly returned. Meanwhile, Harrison Dynamics continued struggling with delays and rising maintenance costs. Several experienced employees resigned, saying they no longer felt valued. During a board meeting, directors questioned why so many skilled workers were leaving. After reviewing employee feedback, they realized a common theme appeared again and again. People wanted respect as much as they wanted a paycheck. One afternoon, Richard Harrison saw Daniel's name mentioned in an industry magazine for leading a successful efficiency project at his new company. He remembered the day Daniel had quietly packed his bag and walked away without anger or insults. For the first time, he wondered whether authority alone could never earn loyalty. Daniel never celebrated leaving his old job. He simply proved through his actions that choosing self-respect and family over fear was not the end of his career. It was the beginning of a better one. The experience taught everyone who heard his story that great leaders don't keep employees through threats. They keep them by earning their trust every single day.